last year around this time, I think it was in November, I made a video talking about my health problems, and I released it on December 7th, which is the anniversary of when I got sick. And I didn't address what happened in the end of November and going into December, because I hadn't lived that out yet. I'm so great at this. So after I made the video, I'm pretty sure things started to go a bit downhill. And now I stayed downstairs after I went down in October. And yeah, things were just slowly getting worse. And in January, I decided to try taking ibuprofen, which we already knew that ibuprofen helped. I just tried to avoid taking it. And then I think around that time, we also found out that lidocaine patches worked. So I was using those and ibuprofen, and that was in January. And then in February, the 1st of February, I had a online doctor's visit. I don't remember what this was because I don't have any information on this, other than after it I started taking Celebrox, which I don't think worked. After that, on February 3rd, I tried taking Tylenol, which didn't work. It actually doesn't work with my entire family, which is weird.
You're immune.
Yeah. So then on February 18th, I decided to give up on the medication, or not exactly give up, but I didn't like relying so much on it, so I went without it. And then on February 19th, I started what I called the Hawk diet, so I cut out all carbs. I was just eating eggs and chicken, basically, and a few spices, but eggs and chicken were the main attractions. And then I think after a while I introduced cheese.
Yeah, I think you only did the Hawk diet for like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, it says... It actually doesn't say when I stopped it. Okay. And then April 2nd, I got sick. I hate when I get sick because it's just, I do not need a sickness on top of my sickness. And then it was really exciting because during the spring, I started getting better and more confident with my walking, and I was able to go downtown. There actually aren't that many cool shops downtown, but it still felt nice. And then it was my town's anniversary, so I got to go to that, and I was able to eat some like pork or beef that my mom got. Brisket, yeah. And that was pretty tasty. And then
Fireworks that night too.
Yeah, there were fireworks. It was really nice. It was a nice night too. I brought my Godzilla figures and took some pictures. And then on November, not November, April 22nd, I decided to try doing the diet that I'd been doing November of last year, because that was like probably the best time for walking that I ever had. But that didn't really help. Things just went downhill a lot. Now, I think I've already talked about this before, that I had these mute spells where I couldn't talk because if I did speak, then it would make my nausea worse. So I would just not talk at all. So on May 19th, I lost the ability to speak. Now, I'd been in the yard that day. I'd just come back in. I was eating some yogurt, and me and the fam were discussing what to watch. And then mid-meal, like, I think I was even, like, in the middle of a sentence, too, when I just stopped talking. It was really bad and really rough. And after May 19th, I was slowly becoming unable to eat. Just everything was way too heavy on my stomach. I was eating a little bit of nuts throughout the day. I had not very many, and I couldn't eat very often. I just wasn't hungry at all, but I was forcing myself to eat because I knew, I'd starve to death if I didn't eat. So on May 22nd, I was completely unable to eat. And Mappa, do you want to fill in on kind of what happened on that day?
My husband was at work, and he was really very, very sad because, and I mean, we all were sad because we were scared that Faith was, something bad was going to happen because she couldn't eat. She could barely drink. I was telling her, I'm like, you have to at least drink something so you don't become dehydrated and then end up in the hospital. So my husband was at work. He was, really sad and down about it. And one of his one of the customers was asking him what was going on, and my dad didn't really want to.
Your dad?
Wow. My husband didn't really want to talk about it, but the customer was kind of pressing him. So he went ahead and told him everything that happened, and the guy said, well, okay, I'll talk to you later. So later, the guy actually called back and said, I want you to call this number, tell them that you need an emergency GI visit, and they will get you in tomorrow at 9 a.m. So my husband sends me a message, and he's like, call this number, see if you can get her in. He was kind of surprised. It's like, whatever, this is very, very weird. So I call him, and I'm like, okay, listen, this is a very strange situation. And I just came right out and told them what the man had said. And they're like, I don't know what he's talking about. We don't have anything available. There's nothing. We cannot get her in tomorrow. I'm really sorry about the situation. And then the first one I talked to, she's like, but you know what? Hang on a second. So if she puts me on hold, she's like, I'm going to transfer you to someone else. She's like, they might be able to help. So she transfers me. I give this woman all the information. And she's like, I'm sorry, I don't know what he's talking about. There's nothing we can do to help, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing again. And then she's like, you know what? Hang on just a second. So she puts me on hold. She picks back up the phone. She's like, yeah, no, we don't have anything available tomorrow. And then she's like, oh, wait, hang on. My phone's like dinging. She's like, give me a second. So she takes the call, gets back on the phone. She's like, we do have something available for 1 p.m. tomorrow. Can you make it? And I just said, yes. I'm like, get us there. That's fine. So that was what we had scheduled. Now, of course, Faith was kind of sad about that. But at the same time, it's like she was willing to do whatever because she was a wreck. Anyway, take it over.
Car rides are incredibly painful. The way I normally describe it is that it feels like someone took my guts out, shoved them in a blender, and then poured the slosh back in. And
reconnected all the nerve endings.
Yeah, and it usually feels like that for 1 to 2 weeks. I think it's 1 week if I go up and down the stairs, and 2 weeks if it's in the car. So, yeah, it's not fun. And I remember during that time I was playing a lot of Sea of Thieves and listening to Cloud Busting by Kate Bush on loop. Did a lot of fishing in Sea of Thieves during that time. So we went to the doctor's appointment, and it was far away, and
it's like an hour and a half away.
Yeah, and the doctor, I don't actually remember a whole lot of what she said, but she wanted to get some scans, and she also did she wanted to do a endoscopy and a colonoscopy, but she wanted to do another test first. Oh yeah, and she ordered blood work, of course, because why not? They're just vampires over there. So yeah, when I got back in the car after that appointment, I was I was a mess.
That was a good portrayal of yourself just now. That's what you would have sounded like if you'd been able to talk.
Yeah, and I was just sitting in the car crying, and I didn't want my dad to start the car and to be driving, so I was just sitting there, and I put Zootopia on my phone, and I had brought one of my Kirby plushies with me, and I was just chilling with that. I don't really remember what I said, but I was really upset. And at one point I made the joke that said, when I get better, I really want some Nutter Butters. And my dad said, you want some Nutter Butters? I'll get you some Nutter Butters. So he went out to a nearby store and he brought me back some Nutter Butters and Oreos and Fig Newlands. And yes?
She was communicating through text.
Yeah, I was texting and also using some sign language.
And he got you some tea.
Yeah, he got me some tea too. So I had 2 Nutter Butters and some tea, and then that was pretty exciting to be able to eat. And after that, I did feel a little bit better, and we managed to get home. And but yeah, after that, I was eating basically just Nutter Butters. And I would go through like, I think half a container a day or so. And then my dad set up the system where I would take a bite and a drink of, I switched to Coke after I finished the tea. So I would take a bite of Nutter Butter and take a drink of Coke every 15 minutes. And that was a way that I could keep my stomach from being overfull, but still eat and stuff. And I had a lot of other treats that were easily dissolvable in water. So, like, mostly just carby stuff. And then, let's see, I got my blood drawn on May 30th, and then June 6th, I did the scan. That was a pretty rough day. So I woke up early, and we went to the hospital, and, so my stomach was so sensitive that I could, like, hardly handle anything being in it. And for this scan, you had to drink a contrast. You had to drink a very heavy contrast. So I also had to stand up, and they wanted me to lay on my stomach, and I said no, or, you know, I shook my head. So, like, I am not laying on my stomach. You can't make me. But while we were waiting for the contrast to get through my system, my dad put Zootopia on his phone, and my mom started showing me Regency fashion on her phone because she knows I like historical fashion, and I was griping to her through texting about the inaccurate dresses that came up in the search. So that was fun. And then when I got back, I remember not being real happy about being, like, when I got back, but, I think KK says that I was pretty cheerful.
No, it was that you didn't walk in with your eyes half closed and walking at a snail's pace. So
Yeah.
it was very funny, because during your time of being mute, every doctor's appointment, you came home, you know, not like I just described.
Yeah. So yeah, and then she set up a video game for me to play. Oh boy. Yeah, so the scan showed nothing. I have this meme where it says that my levels of normal are unusually high. That's what the doctors see. So after that, the doctor said, all right, well, we're going to do the scopes. So they were going to do both the scopes, and prep day was really, really rough.
Did you already mention your crop tops, or had those not started by then?
Those hadn't started, I don't think. So, yeah, the scopes, the prep day I feel like was harder than the actual scopes. I was just sitting in the bathtub for most of the time. We rolled in a cart with an Xbox 360 on it, and a little TV, so I could so I could play games and watch stuff. And my mom and dad also started paying me to drink the drink because I was just having such a hard time. I just could not get it in because, like I said, like my stomach just could not handle stuff. So I even threw up because my stomach just could not handle all the fluid that I was supposed to drink. It really was not fun. And then the next day was also really tough. Like in the morning, it was really tough. And my one friend, I was texting her, and she was telling me some stories and stuff, and that made me feel better. And then we went to get the scopes done, and I don't really remember a whole lot of it. Like they said, oh, you'll probably conk out around this time. I think I conked out before I was supposed to because I was really tired as it was. I didn't get a good night of sleep the night before. And then when I woke up, my mom has a funny story for that. You wanna?
Which part?
Do you want to take that one?
When I woke up from the scopes.
Oh my goodness. I was so weirded out because I couldn't get her to look me in the eye. And I kept saying her name and trying to like just get her attention. And what was really bothering me was they were trying to get her out of there as fast as possible. And I'm like, shouldn't she like be more awake before we get her out of here? And she was barely responding. They're like, oh, we need to get her to drinking. And I'm like, okay, good luck with that. So when we left, she was still so out of it. I don't know. That was not a happy experience. As a mom watching my kid go through that, I did not like that.
Yeah, and so they told me not to drink, and I'm like, oh yeah, totally, I will not drink the day of the scopes. Like that's no problem after the day before where I have to chug, and that's just terrible.
But then you were too dehydrated.
Yeah, they said I was too dehydrated, so they couldn't fully do the one scope, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, like, make up your mind. Mm-hmm. Let's see, and then after that, we had an online doctor's appointment. Oh yeah, and the scopes showed that everything was normal. Yay! The only thing that they noticed was that I had gastroparesis and...
They said a bit of colitis.
Yeah, a bit of colitis. And they said, oh, well, the colitis might have been from the meds to clear me out the day before, or something like that.
They didn't think that it was part of the condition. Like whatever she's going through, it's not part of that. And it's like, okay, thanks.
Yeah. So I was pretty depressed after that. I'm like, are you kidding me? I went through all that for nothing. And then on July 22nd, we had another doctor's appointment, and she wanted she wanted me to go on erythromycin. So I did. I started it on July 23rd, and now maybe for other people this medicine is fine, but for me it was brutal. Like, I was in so much pain, like, all day. Like, it was just, it felt like I was being torn up inside. And I know it was specifically from the medication. It was really, really tough, because I think I was taking it like 4 times a day, about.
I can't remember.
And then, so I started that on July 23rd, and then I stopped on August 4th, because it was just getting to be too much. So I did give it a long trial period, and, it just was not that great. And afterwards, I started to feel better and better, and I did a fast, which I don't have written down, but a little while after that, on August 9th,
It was like 2 days after that.
Yeah, 2 days after the fast, I gained the ability to speak again. I was so happy. It was really funny, though, because I really wanted my first word to be Kirby, but it wasn't. It was Hello Earth, because I started off by trying to sing a song.
Before you get too far talking about that, I just want to talk about the sensitivity of the outside of your stomach.
Oh, yeah.
Just cannot handle sunlight, wind, and by extension, touch. So crop tops are a good friend of the family now.
Yeah, it was really funny because I had never worn a crop top, like, ever. So when my sister brought them home, I was like, okay, time to try these out for my stomach. But it felt so weird to just be putting on a crop top. Just like, it was very, very, a bizarre experience for me. So yeah, I talked so much, like the first several days.
That's what happens to a person when they can't speak for 81 days straight.
Yeah, it was not fun though those days. But yeah, when I got the ability to speak, it was funny because I wasn't sure how long I'd be able to speak, so I was like, I gotta talk as much as possible, and it was really funny because when I came into the bedroom to wake up KK, I was like trying to talk to her, and like my voice was so scratchy and stuff.
And I was like, no, don't push yourself. It's okay if you can't talk. Just don't hurt yourself.
And I really wish that I'd had recorded some videos from that time, because my voice was so wacky and so out of control. Like, I could not control the pitch that I was talking in. And it sounded so weird, and it also sounded a lot like I was sick. So yeah, those were fun days. And then I started to get worse again, so I decided to try to take the erythromycin again because I thought maybe it had helped. And it was once again very, very brutal. My dad was able to cut down the dose to, I think it was twice a day instead of 4 times a day. And it did help in the fact that the medicine wasn't as brutal, but it did not help in the long run. So it didn't help me get better at all with the VEG. And then some crazy shenanigans happened with my grandmother, so I moved upstairs on August 31st, and then I got sick, and then I tripped, and yeah, it was really funny because...
Talk about the freak accident.
The freak accident.
Well, I just meant, like, you know, these... Since you said you got sick and then you tripped, you also...
Yeah.
All the bottles in the shower fell on your stomach.
Yeah, so it was so weird. Like, so I got sick, and then I fell, and then all the bottles in the shower fell on my stomach, and then my mom fell on me and put her hand on my stomach. It was a very weird... course of events. It was really funny, but also like so painful. I was recovering for a long time after that. It was very, very very funny.
And we talk about the new bed?
We did not. So I was sleeping on the floor, and that sounds pretty weird, but it's just because it was very comfortable to me.
She was sleeping atop, like, sleeping bags and stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, normal pillows and blankets as a bed would have, but
Yeah.
she's been sleeping on the floor for, like, years, even before she got sick, just because it's the most comfy for her.
Mm-hmm. It's like I could have had a bed, I just didn't want one. But I thought, well, maybe a bed would help me in getting up, like, because when I get up off the floor, I have to really scrunch up, and that probably does not help my stomach, so I decided that I would give a normal bed a try. Now, I don't have a normal mattress. Instead, I have, like, a little mat thingy that's pretty shock absorbent. And it helps quite a bit. I can just get out of it pretty easily without having to roll up. So that was pretty exciting.
And And now it's not as much of a hazard for people to fall on you.
Yeah, now people won't fall on me, so that's nice. Let's see. And then less important stuff is on November 10th, I couldn't sleep at all, which is funny because that's actually the first vlog that I recorded was November 10th. So yeah, if you want to watch that, you can. So after trying to sleep for a long while, it just wasn't working, and I decided to talk to my mom, which I knew had just woken up. And I decided to go downstairs, so I did, and I was chilling down there, and my dad suggested that I try going down the stairs every single day, and I don't think so, because I personally don't think that this is something that I can work up to, at least not yet, because I think it's because of how much pain I was in and how bad the nausea was afterwards. I think it's kind of like if you have a cut on your finger, you don't keep stretching it to build up endurance to stuff. You let it heal. I think that's what my stomach's problem is. But yeah, after that I went upstairs, and things have been pretty chill after that.
After the recovery.
After the recovery, things have been pretty chill. Yeah, and hopefully things will go better at the anniversary of me getting sick this year. I think that's about it. I hope you found this interesting, and that if you have problems, that you talk to a doctor, even though they're probably not going to be able to do anything. But, you know, just in case you're one of the rare people who can be fixed by doctors.